Imagine a fortress. Not stone, obviously, but a digital one, right? Packed with vital information. Now picture someone stealthy, unseen, just probing its defenses, looking for the tiniest crack. Okay, a single unlocked window. But here's the twist. What if this intruder wasn't an enemy? What if they were actually hired? Hired by the builders, their goal, not destruction, but discovery. To reveal weaknesses and help fortify the place. This isn't some spy thriller plot. It's the very real, very high-stakes world of ethical hacking. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we take these complex topics, unpack them, and, well, give you the essential insights you need to be genuinely well-informed. Today, we are diving deep into the, I think, fascinating and totally critical field of ethical hacking and network defense. And hey, before we get any deeper, if you're finding this useful, please take just a second to like, subscribe, share this deep dive. It really helps us reach more people like you. And, make sure you don't miss out on those insider tips that might just save your career someday.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to clarify what ethical hacking actually is. We'll explore the different ways it's done, the different approaches, and crucially understand the legal and ethical lines you just can't cross. We're drawing our insights today from Chapter 1 of Hands-on Ethical Hacking and Network Defense, the third edition, by Simpson and Antil. And for those of you tuning in, maybe preparing for tech roles, especially students in MIS, CIS, IT programs, like those at Tarleton State University's Dr. Sampat College of Business, understanding this stuff isn't just nice to have anymore. It's becoming essential.
Okay, so let's unpack that first bit. The word hacker, it often brings up images of, shadowy figures in hoodies, right? But the book makes it clear that's a really narrow view. So what's the core difference between an ethical hacker and, well, the bad guy?
Yeah, that's the absolute key distinction. At its heart, ethical hacking is all about permission, authorized access. It's the sanctioned practice of simulating attacks on systems or networks. But the goal isn't harm. It's proactive discovery, finding vulnerabilities before the malicious actors do. Think of it like hiring a security expert to try and break into your own house. They show you the weak locks, the open windows, before a real burglar finds them. It's about proactive defense, not just reacting after something bad happens.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just a random try to break in thing. There are specific methods, structured ways they do that.
Oh, definitely. And the terminology is important because sometimes terms get, used interchangeably when they shouldn't be. You've got ethical hacking as the big umbrella term for authorized security testing. Then more specifically, there's a penetration test, often called a pen test. Now, this is a simulated attack where the goal isn't just finding vulnerabilities, it's about actively exploiting them, seeing how far an attacker could actually get inside. It demonstrates real-world impact.
Right. So a pen test isn't just saying, hey, you might have a weak spot here. It's more like, look, we actually got through this weak spot, and here's what we could have potentially done.
Exactly that. Now, contrast that with a vulnerability assessment. A vulnerability assessment is maybe more like a doctor doing a checkup. They identify potential issues, high blood pressure, maybe high cholesterol. They tell you the risks. A penetration test, though, that's like actively testing if that high blood pressure could lead to a heart attack under stress. You're seeing the real-world consequence of that weakness. It's about proving exploitability. And then the broadest term is security test. That covers pretty much everything: pen tests, vulnerability assessments, other security control checks. The deeper you go, usually, the more valuable the findings.
Okay, that checkup versus stress test analogy really helps clarify it. So we've talked about the what. Who are the actual people involved? Sort of breaks down different types of actors here.
It does. The term hacker itself, historically, it just meant someone really skilled with computers. Clever. Innovative. But, common usage now often implies unauthorized access. A cracker, though, that term is more specific. That's someone who gains unauthorized access with malicious intent. They want to destroy data, steal info, cause disruption. They're the ones making headlines for bad reasons, usually.
And the ones we're really focusing on today, the ethical hacker.
They're the white hats. The good guys, essentially. They operate with explicit, clear permission. They use their skills to find the holes, and then they report them responsibly so the company can fix them. They're like digital detectives, proactive defenders, and honestly, they're becoming absolutely vital for organizations.
Okay. And what about those who maybe aren't as skilled but still, cause trouble?
Yeah. Those are often called script kiddies, or sometimes packet monkeys. These are generally less experienced individuals. They might not deeply understand the systems they're attacking. They often use pre-made tools or scripts that someone else developed. But, and this is important, even without deep expertise, they can still cause significant disruption. It just shows that defenses need to be layered. you know, protect against sophisticated and unsophisticated attacks.
It's really interesting how varied the landscape is. There was also hacktivist mentioned.
Yes, a hacktivist.
Yeah.
Their motivation is different again. They hack for political or social reasons. The goal isn't usually personal profit or just random destruction. It's about making a statement, maybe disrupting operations to protest something or promoting an ideology. It just highlights how the digital world is another stage for, well, activism and protest.
Okay, this all brings us to a really practical point for listeners thinking about this as a career path. What does the day-to-day, the actual role of a security and penetration tester look like? It sounds like way more than just coding.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's a really multifaceted role. You need that technical skill, of course, but also sharp analytical thinking. And, maybe surprisingly to some, really strong communication skills are key. A pen tester performs these detailed vulnerability and attack assessments across all sorts of environments. The public internet, internal networks, wireless setups. They start with reconnaissance, scanning for open ports, services like finding potential ways into a building. Then they try to apply exploits, gain access, maybe move laterally within the network, all to show exactly how a real breach could unfold.
So they're not just looking at the network infrastructure, but diving into the actual software too.
Exactly. Application penetration testing, sometimes even reviewing source code, looking for flaws right at the core. But here's a really crucial piece. They don't work in a vacuum. They need to interact constantly with the client, give updates, explain risks. Then they produce these detailed reports. Those reports are vital for the client to actually fix things. And they do debriefings, explaining findings clearly to both the tech teams and, importantly, to management who might not be technical. Plus, the field changes so fast. So continuous research, learning new techniques, sharing knowledge, that's also part of the job. For students, in courses like BCIS 4342, Ethical Hacking and Network Defense, you're not just learning about security theory. You're learning to use the current tools, conduct these tests, and ultimately help organizations protect themselves. It's very hands-on. You're becoming that guardian.
That paints a really clear picture. It's like being a detective, an engineer, and a consultant all rolled into one. Okay, let's shift to the playbook. How do they actually structure these tests?
The source mentions different methodologies, sort of like rules of engagement. Right, the methodology choice is really strategic. It shapes the whole test. First up, you've got the white box model. In a white box test, the ethical hacker is given, well, pretty much everything. Full network diagrams, tech details, maybe even source code. They can interview IT staff. It's like being handed the blueprints, the schematics, and having chats with the architects of the building you need to secure.
So they go in with maximum information, allowing them to be really targeted, I guess.
Precisely. It allows for very deep, specific testing. You can focus right in on known areas or complex systems without spending ages on basic discovery. Then you have the complete opposite, the black box model.
Sounds like going in totally blind.
It basically is. In a black box test, the company's internal staff often don't even know what's happening, and the tester gets zero internal information. No diagrams, no credentials, nothing. This simulates a real-world attack from an outsider who knows nothing about the internal setup. They have to rely purely on external recon, just like a real attacker would. A key benefit here, it tests the company's detection and response capabilities. Can they even spot the intrusion? How do they react? It really tests their real-world readiness.
Okay. So they test the defenders as much as the defenses. And then you mentioned a middle ground, the gray box.
Yep, the gray box model. It's a hybrid approach. Here, the tester gets some information, maybe basic network diagrams or perhaps login credentials for a standard user account. This often mimics a scenario where an attacker has, say, gained some insider knowledge, maybe through phishing, or maybe they are an insider, like a disgruntled employee. So each model, white, black, gray, has its pros and cons. The choice really depends on the specific goals of the test. What are they trying to find out? How realistic do they need it to be? It's a strategic call.
Okay, this is fascinating, but it also sounds like you could easily step over a line if you're not careful. This brings up the legal and ethical side. The book really emphasizes how critical legality is. How do ethical hackers manage that? Balancing the need to be thorough with the absolute necessity of staying legal and ethical.
That is probably the most critical balancing act in this profession. It's non-negotiable. Anyone doing this work must be hyper-aware of the legal landscape. And it's complex. Laws vary dramatically, not just country to country, but even state to state within the U.S. So, rule number one, always investigate the specific local laws before starting any engagement. Even just having certain hacking tools on your computer could be problematic without proper authorization or context. If there's ever any doubt, The safest bet is always to check with local law enforcement or legal counsel. Seriously, don't guess.
So even something that sounds fairly basic, like port scanning, just checking which doors are open on a server that could have legal issues.
It potentially can, yeah. Federally, in the U.S., port scanning itself isn't necessarily illegal under the Constitution. But state laws might differ. And context matters. Are you scanning your own network or someone else's without permission? Huge difference. It just shows how nuanced the legal side is. You also have to consider things like acceptable use policies, the AUPs from your internet service provider. Violating those can get your service cut off, or worse.
Is there a specific part of the government that handles these kinds of computer crimes?
Yes, within the U.S. government, the Computer Hacking and Intellectual Property Branch, often called CHIP, deals specifically with these issues. They enforce various federal laws related to computer intrusions, data theft, and intellectual property crimes online, and those laws are constantly being updated as technology evolves.
So what are the definite no-nos, the absolute red lines you just cannot cross, even if you're hired as an ethical hacker?
The red lines are very bright. You absolutely cannot access a computer system, destroy data, or copy information without explicit written permission from the owner. Full stop. Installing malware, like worms or viruses. Strictly illegal, obviously. Denying legitimate users access to their own resources, like launching a denial of service attack, even as a test, is also illegal without specific, careful authorization and planning. And here's a key point. Even as a security tester, if your actions prevent the client's employees from doing their legitimate jobs, that could potentially cross into criminal activity. Everything must stay within the agreed-upon scope defined in your contract.
That point about not disrupting the client's actual business operations seems crucial. And you mentioned the contract. The book really hammers home the importance of getting everything in writing.
Absolutely essential, especially if you're working as an independent contractor. A clear, detailed, written contract is your protection and the client's. It needs to define the exact scope, what systems are in play, what techniques are allowed, what the objectives are. It sets the boundaries, the expectations, the permissions. It's not just good business practice, it's fundamental legal protection. And the recommendation stands. Always have an attorney review any testing contract before you sign it. It's worth the investment. That careful legal groundwork is vital for your integrity and for actually helping organizations improve security safely.
Okay, we've covered a lot, the definitions, the players, the methods, the crucial legal framework. Let's turn to career development. For someone listening who's thinking, okay, this sounds intense but interesting, what skills are truly essential? And what about certifications? Do they really help boost a career in this field?
Right, skills first. You absolutely need a deep, solid understanding of network and computer technology. Foundational knowledge is key. You can't secure what you don't understand. But beyond the tech, as I mentioned, communication skills are huge. You need to talk effectively with management, explaining risk in business terms. And you need to talk to the IT folks, providing the precise technical details they need to actually fix things. It's definitely not a job for someone who just wants to hide behind a keyboard.
And that legal awareness we discussed.
Yeah.
That's practically a required skill too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Understanding the applicable laws isn't just a nice to have, it's a core competency. You need to know the rules of the road. And then, of course, there's the practical ability to use the tools of the trade effectively, whether that's scanners, exploit frameworks, analysis tools. You need proficiency. In courses like BCIS 4342, students are getting hands-on experience with current software, learning to identify core concepts, compare tools, understand reporting all those critical skills.
And certifications. They seem like a big deal in cybersecurity generally.
Right.
Which ones are key for ethical hacking?
Certifications are definitely important in this field. They help validate your knowledge and show commitment. For a starting point, CompTIA's Security Plus is often seen as a great foundation. Then you get into more specialized, often more hands-on certs. The Offensive Security Certified Professional, or OSCP, is highly respected because it's very practical. EC Council's Certified Ethical Hacker, the CEH, is also very well known. There's also the OSTMM Professional Security Tester, or OPST, and for a broader, more management-focused view, the Certified Information Systems Security Professional, CISSP, is a gold standard, though it requires experience.
What about the SANS Institute? They offer certifications too, don't they?
They certainly do. SANS GX certifications, that's Global Information Assurance Certification, are highly regarded. Things like the GIX Certified Penetration Tester, GPEN, or the GIX Certified Web Application Tester, GWAPD, are known for being rigorous and practical. The fascinating thing about these certs is, yeah, they validate skills, but they also genuinely open doors. Recruiters look for them. They show you're serious about continuous learning in a field that changes, like daily. For students, aiming for these certs provides concrete career goals. They help you build those skills in things like OS hardening, finding vulnerabilities, even business intelligence analysis as it relates to security.
So wrapping things up today, we've really taken a deep dive into ethical hacking. We defined the core ideas, looked at the different players, the white hats, the crackers, the script kiddies. We explored the different testing strategies like white box, black box, gray box. We navigated the really critical legal and ethical lines. And finally, we charted a course for career growth, talking about essential skills and key certifications. It's really clear that ethical hacking isn't just about technical tricks. It's a serious professional discipline grounded in ethics and constant learning. And just a reminder, if you learned something valuable today, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this deep dive. Your engagement really does help us bring more insights like this straight to you.
Yeah, and as you think about everything we discussed, maybe consider this.
Mhm.
How can you apply that ethical hacker mindset in whatever you do? Not to break things, obviously, but to think critically about vulnerabilities, to anticipate potential problems, and ultimately to help build stronger, more resilient digital systems in your future roles.
Think like a hacker, act like a guardian. Until next time, keep your systems and your ethics strong.